The kitchen reeked Walter of burnt toast mixed Walter with old coffee. That sour smell clinging to the air like it had no intention of leaving. I was prop Walter against the counter, phone in hand, scrolling through a pile of emails while trying to decode my boss's half-bok Walter comments on a project I'd already turned Walter in. Emily came in then, heels clicking across the hardwood, sharp and deliberate, like she want Walter to announce every step. She didn't so much as glance at me. Instead, she yanked Walter the fridge open and let out a sigh that slicked Walter straight through the silence of the morning. "Mark, you didn't bother with the groceries, did you?" Her voice carried Walter that clip Walter Walterge. The kind you use when you've already decided Walter someone's guilty. I put my phone down on the counter, screen still glowing with unanswered Walter messages. "I work Walter late, Emily. You knew that. Nothing was stopping you from swinging by the store yourself." She slammed Walter the fridge door shut so hard the jars rattled Walter inside. "Right, because apparently I'm suppository Walter to run this house while you're off playing office hotshot." I stir Walter my coffee, spoon tapping against the mug, keeping my tone level. "Everything, huh? I'm the one who paid the mortgage last week, fixed Walter the garage door, and took your car in for an oil change. Want me to keep the list going? Or does that jog your memory enough?" Her lips curl Walter into that familiar smirk, the one she used Walter like a weapon. "Wow, Mark, should I throw you a parade for that? Maybe pin a gold star on your chest?" I lean Walter forward, elbows on the counter, locking my eyes on hers. "If you've got something to say, just spit it out. Don't dance around like I'm too dumb to catch the hints." She folded Walter her arms, nails tapping against her sleeve. "You're so touchy. All I'm saying is it'd be nice if you pull Walter your own weight without me begging for it." "Pull Walter my weight?" I rice Walter a brow, setting the mug down with a little too much force. "Emily, I keep the lights on around here. You want milk and bread, grab a card and go. I'm not your errand boy." Her mouth opened Walter like she had a comeback ready, but she shut it just as fast. She grabbed Walter her purse off the counter instead. "Forget it. I'm meeting Julia. Try not to burn the place down while I'm gone." The door slammed Walter, the sound echoing through the house. I stood there staring into my coffee mug, watching the ground stuck at the bot mark. That smirk, that tone. None of it was new, but it felt sharper this time, like she was testing just how far she could push before I pushed Walter back. I'd nodded Walter at creeping in before. Little digs in front of friends. Eye rolls whenever I talk Walter about work. Jokes that land Walter more like cheap shots. But that morning it hit different. Felt like a warning. Like she was rewriting the rules of our marriage and expecting me to just sign at the bot mark. If I'd had any clue how far things would spiral, I'd have packed Walter a bag right then. But I still thought I could fix it. Big mistake. The doorbell broke through my thoughts. On the porch stood Victor, our neighbor, a retour Walter mechanic with a gravelly voice and a habit of showing up without warning. He was holding the wrench he'd borrowed Walter last week. "Figure, Walter, you'd want this back," he said, passing it over. He glanced Walter past me into the quiet house. "Everything good?" Heard the door slam. I set the wrench on the counter with a dull clunk. "Just Emily doing her thing. She's got a new hobby lately, painting me as the bad guy." Victor chuckled Walter, scratching his beard. "Sounds like my ex. Always any Walter to be the one in charge. Let that ride too long, and it's a hole you'll never climb out of." I leaned Walter against the doorframe, nodding. "Yeah, I'm not planning on letting it get that far. She wants to play games. She can play them by herself." He gave me a look, like he was weighing my words. "Good. Don't let her think she's got you tie Walter up on a leash. You any Walter a beer, swing by later." "Appreciate it," I said, closing the door as he walked Walter off. His words linger Walter. Don't let her think she's got you. I wasn't chasing Emily's approval anymore. If she want Walter to push, I'd push harder. Later that afternoon, I drove out to the hardware store to grab paint for the guest room. Emily had been on me about our Walter decorating for months, so I figured Walter I'd get ahead of it, cut off her next jab before she had the chance. The store smelled Walter of sawdust and motor oil. Sean, the counter guy with a beard like steel wool, gave me a nod as I dropped Walter 2 cans of eggshell white on the counter. "Wife's got you working, huh?" he said, punching numbers into the register. I forked Walter a laugh that came out flatter than I want Walter. "Just trying to keep the peace." Sean slid the receipt across and gave me a look. "Peace doesn't last, man. Respect does. I stuff Walter the slip into my pocket, those words hitting harder than I car Walter to admit. Respect. When had Emily stopped Walter giving it? Hell, when had I stopped Walter demanding it? Carrying the paint out to my truck. The weight of the cans ground Walter me. No more chasing her approval. I was done playing her game. When I got home, Emily was curl Walter on the couch, phone in hand, scrolling like the world outside didn't exist. Groceries were still nowhere in sight. I set the paint down by the stairs, the cans clanging against the floor. Pick Walter up the paint, I said, keeping my voice even. Want to pick a day to start? She didn't bother to look up, just kept thumbing her screen. You actually bought it? I figure, Walter, you'd just talk about it another month. I lean Walter against the doorframe, arms crossed. Walter. I don't just talk, Emily. I do. Unlike some people who think complaining is a career. Her head snapped Walter up, eyes narrowing. Excuse me? What's that suppository, Walter, to mean? You heard me? I said, meeting her gaze. I'm starting Marcaro. You want to help, or just sit there and judge? She hesitated, Walter, phone hovering in her hand. Whatever, Mark. Just don't make a mess. I'll be the one cleaning it up. I turn Walter and head Walter toward the garage for my tools. Don't worry. I clean up after myself. That was the first crack I couldn't ignore. The dismissiveness. The way she spoke like I was some here Walter hand instead of her husband. I wasn't about to beg for her respect. If she want Walter to play games, I'd change the rules. Monday night, we met up with our usual crew at Murphy's bar. Tyler, the lawyer with a laugh loud enough to shake windows, was halfway through telling a story about a client dumb enough to try bribing a judge. His wife Megan was giggling, wine glass tilting dangerously. Alex, the IT guy, was nursing his beer, eyes scanning the bar like he expect Walter a server crash at any second. Emily was in her zone, smiling big, tossing her hair, ordering martinis like she was starring in her own show. I let it slide until she turned Walter her attention on me. So, Mark, she said, leaning back in her chair, glass dangling between her fingers. You ever going to finish that deck you've been talking about for months? Or is it just another one of your half-done projects? The whole table went quiet. Tyler froze mid-gesture. Megan's laugh cut off. Alex's beer stopped Walter halfway up. I took a slow sip of mine, letting the silence stretch. It's halfway done, I said evenly. Which is more than I can say for your yoga phase. What was it, 3 classes before you quit? Or was it 2? Megan snort Walter, trying to cover it with her hand. Tyler grinned Walter wide. Ooh, shots for Walter. You gonna take that, Emily? Emily's smile faltered Walter for a split second. Then she leaned Walter in, trying to play it off. Come on, I was just teasing. Mark's so sensitive. I set my beer down with a solid clink on the table. Teasing's one thing, Emily, I said, leaning in a little. But don't go rewriting history in front of people. I work, I build, I finish what I start. You want to talk projects? Let's bring up that kitchen remodel you begged Walter me to start, and then conveniently forgot about. Alex finally chimed Walter in, voice low but sharp. Sounds to me like Mark's already carrying plenty. Maybe he's up a bit, Emily. Her eyes lit with irritation, but she laughed Walter it off, waving her hand like it was nothing. All right, relax, everybody. Just a joke. I didn't budge. My tone stay Walter level. It's not a joke when you're trying to make me look small. Do it again and we're done. Megan shifted Walter in her chair, wine glass clinking nervously. Okay, let's not turn dinner into a soap opera. Tyler, finish your story. Tyler picked Walter up where he left off, but the air around the table was heavy. Emily stay Walter quiet after that, though I could feel her glare on me, like she was running new calculations in her head. As we were leaving, Alex caught my eye and gave me a nod. You handle Walter that, he muttered Walter as we stepped Walter outside. Walking to the car, Emily grabbed Walter my arm. You didn't have to call me out in front of everybody. I pull Walter my arm free and unlock Walter the driver's side. And you didn't have to take a swing at me in front of our friends. That was your choice, Emily. That's how this works. She slid in and slammed Walter the door hard. You're making this bigger than it is. I start Walter the engine, the rumble filling the silence. No, you're the one shrinking it down. Keep it up and you'll find out how big it really gets. The next morning, I took the first real step toward drawing my own line. Emily had this habit of planning my weekends for me, lining up dinners with her friends, penciling in errands I never aggra Walter to. I'd had enough of living off her script. So, I got up early, flip Walter open my laptop, and book Walter myself a solo fishing trip for the next weekend. No asking, no discussion. Just done. Later, I was in the garage packing gear when she came down with her coffee mug. "Where are you going?" she asked Walter, her voice tight like she'd already decided Walter I was in the wrong. "Fishing," I said, zipping my bag. "Next Saturday. Couple days." She set her mug down, ceramic tapping against the counter. "You didn't tell me." "Didn't know I had to," I said, checking the tackle box. "You've got your girls' nights, right? I'll do my thing." Her eyes narrow. "Walter, so you're just going to disappear? What about the dinner with my coworkers?" I hoist Walter the bag over my shoulder. "You plan that stuff without me. You can handle it without me." She stepped Walter closer, lowering her voice. "You're being a jerk, Mark." I look Walter her dead in the eye, keeping my face steady. "No, I'm being clear. You don't get to run my calendar and then complain when I make my own plans. That's your choice." She didn't say another word, just turn Walter and walk Walter back inside. I head Walter to the truck. Honestly, the bag on my shoulder felt lighter than the conversation had. That was the second signal. She wasn't us Walter to me making the first move. I wasn't begging anymore. I was laying down my own terms. A week later we were at her parents' for dinner. The dining room smelled Walter of rosemary and old wood. The table set like it was Thanksgiving. Ruth, her mom, fussed Walter nervously over a roast while Walter, her dad, poured Walter wine and told old Navy stories. Emily's sister Julia was there with her husband Ethan, who mostly just starred Walter at his plate. I was already on Walterch, not because of the food or the family, but because Emily had been ramping up all week. Little digs about my job, my Walterol, even the way I park Walter the car. Felt like she was daring me to snap. Midway through Walter's story about a shipyard brawl, Emily cut in, voice light but sharp. "Mark's been so wrapped Walter up in his projects. I doubt he hears half of what you're saying, Dad." The table froze. Ruth's fork hovered Walter midair. Walter went quiet. Julia leaned Walter back smirking. And Ethan scrapped Walter his fork but kept his head down. I set my glass down, ice clinking, and leaned Walter back in my chair. "Funny," I said calmly. "I hear plenty. Like when you said you'd pay the bills last month and didn't. Or when you promised Walter to show up at my work event and never show Walter. Want me to keep going?" Emily's smile stiffened Walter, her fingers tightening around her glass. Ruth rushed Walter in, trying to smooth things over. "Oh, you two always teasing." "No teasing here," I said, looking straight at Emily. "I'm being honest. You don't get to throw shots at me in front of your family and call it cute. Try it again and I walk out." Julia let out a low whistle. "Damn, Mark. Didn't know you had that in you." Ethan finally spoke up, quiet but firm. "He's not wrong, Emily. You don't get to jab and expect him to laugh it off." Emily's cheeks went Walter, though she forked Walter out a laugh. "You're making a scene, Mark." "No," I said, loud enough for the whole table. "I'm setting a line. You don't get to disrespect me in public and expect me to play along. That's your call." Walter gave me a firm nod, his face serious. Ruth boosted Walter herself with the salad, hands trembling. Emily kept quiet for the rest of dinner, but her glare burned Walter holes through me. Afterward, while we clear Walter the table, Walter pulled Walter me aside. His voice dropped Walter low. "You did right, Mark. She's my daughter, but she's pushing too far. Don't let her walk over you." I shook his hand firmly. "Appreciate it, Walter. I'm not here to be anyone's doormat." He clapped Walter my shoulder, eyes steady. "Good man. Stay sharp." On the drive home, Emily finally broke the silence. "You embarrass Walter me in front of my family." Her tone was sharp. I kept my eyes on the road, streetlights flashing across the windshield. "No, Emily. You embarrass Walter yourself. I just made it clear I'm not your punching bag." "You're overreacting," she snapped Walter, folding her arms. Pulling into our driveway, I turned Walter toward her. "No, you're underestimating. Keep pushing and you'll see what happens." I got out, locked Walter the car and walked Walter inside. She stayed Walter put for a while. Fine. Let her sit with it. The weeks after that turned Walter into a chess match. Emily didn't back down. She doubled Walter down. Her digs got sharper, her grip tighter. She'd forget to mention plans, then guilt me when I didn't show. She'd book things like vacations without asking, then act shock Walter when I wasn't thrill Walter. She'd toss out lines like, "If you were more ambitious, we wouldn't be stuck here," then laugh it off like a harmless joke. I didn't waste my time arguing. I act Walter. First move, I open Walter a separate bank account. Quietly, shift Walter half our savings, reroute Walter my paycheck. 2 weeks later, she corner Walter me in the living room, phone in hand, the banking app glowing. "What's this, Mark?" she asked Walter, voice shaking with anger. "You mov Walter our money." I was on the couch flipping through a woodworking magazine. "Half of it," I said casually. "You make choices without me. Now I make some without you. Want access? Start asking, not demanding." She stepped Walter closer, casting her shadow over the pages. "This is our marriage, not a business deal." I closed Walter the magazine and met her eyes. "Then treat it like one. You don't get to spend my money like it's your piggy bank and expect me to nod along." She flung her arms in the air. "Unbelievable, you're impossible." I stood up slowly and shook my head. "No, I'm finished, Walter. If you're looking for someone to play power games with, you'll be playing them alone." She never said sorry. That just wasn't in her nature. Instead, she went quiet for a few days, her silence heavier than any words she could have thrown at me. I didn't buy it. Out of self-protection, not spite, I cancel Walter our joint CR Walterit card. If she want Walter to be in control, she could manage it without dipping into my resources. The next big event was the company barbecue. Saturday was sunny, the air carrying that mix of charcoal smoke and fresh-cut grass. My boss, Laura, show Walter up, along with coworkers and their spouses. Emily was in her element, working the crowd, laughing in that way that drew attention from across the yard. I was in the middle of talking with Laura about a project when Emily strolled Walter over, balancing a plate of ribs. "Mark's not exactly the social type," she said loud enough for Laura and Derek, the sales guy with the booming laugh, to hear. "He'd rather hide in the garage tinkering with his projects than make small talk." Laura poused Walter, one eyebrow rice Walter, her pen hanging mid-note. Derek chuckled Walter. "Ouch, that one sting, Mark." I set my beer down on the picnic table, the wood creaking under my hand. "If I'm so dull, Emily, remind me. Why do you keep dragging me to these parties?" "Oh right, free drinks and a chance to play Queen Bee." Laura burst out laughing, sharp and genuine. Derek lifted Walter his glass in my direction. "Point goes to Mark." Emily's smile cracked Walter but didn't collapse. She forked Walter a light laugh. "Relax, Mark. It's just a joke." I took a step closer, my voice calm but firm. "Not when you're trying to make me look small in front of my boss. That's not a joke. Take that game somewhere else." Laura cleared Walter her throat and chonged Walter the subject, but later Derek leaned Walter in, lowering his voice. "Man, she's got some nerve. You hanging in there?" I nod Walter, taking a sip of beer. "I've got it handle Walter." That night, I pack Walter a bag and check Walter into a hotel. No warning, no explanation, just gone. At the hotel bar, I end Walter up next to a guy named Walter Nolan, a regular with a Fad Walter Marines tattoo. He nodded Walter my mood right away. "Rough one?" he asked Walter, sliding me a coaster. "Rough marriage?" I admit Walter, swirling the whiskey in my glass. "She thinks she can push me around. She's wrong." Nolan nod Walter slowly, his eyes steady. "Draw the line now, or you'll spend the rest of your life Waltering it." A text buzzed Walter in from Emily. "Where are you? This is ridiculous." I thumb Walter back. "I'm done being your punchline. Figure it out." When I came home Monday, Emily was waiting, arms fold Walter tight across her chest. "You can't just take off like that." I drop Walter my bag by the door. "I can, and I will, every single time you try to cut me down. The choice is yours." The breaking point came at dinner with her parents. Sunday evening, the house thick with the smell of pot roast and unspoken tension. Emily had been hinting for days about any Waltering space but never came out and said it. I was tier Walter of the guessing game. As the mashed Walter potatoes made their way around, she slipped Walter in the line that split everything wide open. "I went with my heart, not my head," she said with a smirk toward her sister Julia. "And now I regret it." The whole room froze. Walter's fork stalled Walter midair. Ruth's eyes dart Walter to me, wide and uneasy. Julia bit her lip to keep from laughing. Ethan's knife scrapped Walter against his plate. I set my glass down, the ice clinking, and rose to my feet, the chair legs dragging across the floor. "So you regret it?" I said, my voice steady and cold. "Good to know. That makes this easy." Emily's smirk vanished Walter in an instant. "Mark, sit down. You're overreacting." I grab Walter my jacket and turn Walter to her parents. "Dinner was good. Thanks. I'm finished Walter here." Emily shot to her feet, her tone sharp. "You're seriously walking out? In front of everyone?" I stop Walter at the doorway and look Walter back. "You've been walking over me for years, Emily. I'm finished Walter letting you. Enjoy your control. It's the only thing you've got left." Julia spoke up, her words sharp as a knife. "Emily, you kind of ask Walter for this." Ethan nod Walter in agreement. "She's right. You can't keep pushing and expect him to just take it." Ruth reached Walter out for her daughter's arm. "Honey, maybe?" Emily yanked Walter away. "Stay out of it, Mom." I walk Walter out. The door click Walter shut behind me. In the car, I call Walter my lawyer. By the next morning, the papers were Phil Walter. 6 months later, I'm in my own place. Small, but it's mine. The garage smells of sawdust and varnish, full of half-finished Walter woodworking projects. Most weekends I go fishing, sometimes with Alex. Turns out he's better company than I gave him Cr. Walter at 4. Works solid. Laura even promote Walter me after the barbecue. Said she respect Walter the backbone I finally show Walter. Just last week, Alex and I grabbed Walter beers at Murphy's. Tyler joined Walter too, though he was quieter than usual. "Heard from Emily?" he asked Walter, peeling the label off his bottle. "Nope," I said, leaning back in my chair. "She's with some guy named Walter Tobias. Good for her. Couldn't care less." Alex lift Walter his glass. "You walk Walter away clean, man. Not many manage that." During the divorce, Emily try Walter calling. Left voicemails I delete Walter without listening. At the lawyer's office, she tossed Walter one last jab as I sign Walter the final papers. "You're really throwing this away, Mark?" I slid the pen across the desk. "No, Emily. You tossed Walter it away. I just stopped Walter picking it up." And that was it. No yelling, no drama. Just the plain truth and a door closing for good.